Hello, everybody. Happy Saturday. Happy March. And welcome to our next Writing Power Hour. Awesome to be here. It's been exactly a month. So, the last one was on February 6th. Thank you to those of you who were pre gaming in the comments. I see some folks who are already with us. So, if you just joined or as we are rolling on, I've got a little ticker scrolling down on the bottom of the screen. Tell me where you're from and what you're going to be working on. And if you are a Power Hour regular, I probably know where you're from, so you can just tell us what you're working on and how you're feeling about it. All right. So the Islamic Kid is here. Saw quite a few comments from you this morning, and super duper close. Yes. Author Level Up. What is your new book? My new book is Indie Author Confidential, Volume 4. You can get it at authorlevelup.com/confidential. And it is basically like a quarterly journal of everything I'm doing in my writing life. So it's aligned to my 5 core strategies, which is content creation, marketing, technology, data, and pivoting toward the future. And every week I sit down and I talk about what I've learned. And then I compile that every 12 weeks into a book. And so I just released volume 4. Today, I'm going to be working on the newest novel in my urban fantasy series. So good to have you here with us, and good luck writing. All right. All right. Deborah is from New York, working on a novel. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, really good stuff. So good luck. And let's see. All right. How's it going, lad? I've never had anyone address me as lad before. You get the distinction award today. Although I'm far older than a lad. But John here, back from Ireland. Yes, still plugging away at the novel. I bet everyone's still a lad, though, probably. So it's all good. Probably an Irish thing. So welcome. Good to have you with us, my friend. And Priscilla, Virginia, all right, working on a novel in verse. And Louisa, good to see you, Louisa. So, you've already written 530 words. That's fantastic. All right, 530 words. Good stuff. All right. Florida, by the way of NYS, I believe that's New York State, working on a women's fiction novel. Very good. Very good. Lydia is from Virginia, working on her YA high fantasy novel. Awesome. All right. And then Louisa says that, you're okay. So you're at 53,000 words. I was curious, Louisa, how long is your novel going to be? Because you sound pretty darn close to me in terms of being almost done. So that's awesome. All right, Anna Taylor, a Power Hour regular, close to writing the end on my work in progress. See, that's what we like to see. That's what we like to see right there. Maybe you'll be able to hit the end while we're on this Power Hour. That would be awesome. All right. Ferocious Paul, laddie, stand up. I'll leave it at that. Ty is here. All right. Hello. Good morning, Ty. Good to see you. And Johnny Nevermind. Love that handle, by the way, from Thailand, and just finished a screenplay. Really, really cool. So we got a couple minutes left before we're going to start our first sprint. But I know some of you all have been curious about how my challenge has been going. For those of you who don't know, I basically 10 days ago said I was going to try to write a 50,000 word novel in 10 days, which meant that I had to write 5,000 words per day. I did not hit 5,000 words per day in any of the 10 days. Some of that was because of some personal things that came up. There were some other things that came up work-wise, and I just wasn't able to hit it. Right now, I'm at 16,000 words on my manuscript. So a little bit far behind where I was supposed to be, but I'm still 30% of the way through. So I'm going to be trying to make up for that. I still think I can finish this within like 20 days, but we'll kind of see. So I probably will be doing a video on that about how I failed, but it's all good. It's not really a failure. It's a fun challenge to try to keep me engaged. All right. Travis asks, an educational magazine asked me to submit an article based on a presentation I gave. This magazine owns rights to whatever they publish. Yeah, that's an interesting situation, Travis. I mean, I would look at the contract. Typically, magazines take what's called first serial rights or first publication rights. So they have the exclusive right to publish it first. And then after a certain amount of time, the right usually reverts back to the author. So that may be something you want to consider. If they're not willing to entertain that, then get some more money for it, my friend. All right. Okay, everybody. Okay, so it's 10:05. Let's go ahead and start our first sprint. And we'll come back we'll do 20-minute sprints today. So we'll come back exactly at 10:30 a.m. Central Time. All right, so 20 minutes. I'm going to put some time on the timer. Good luck, everybody, and let's go. Oh, and you may see me talking. Okay, I got to say this again. You may see me talking as we go through this. I'm going to be on mute, but that's because I'm dictating my book. All right, so um, just do me a favor and help out folks who join afterwards, and they're like, "Why is Michael talking on mute?" All right, everybody, let's go. 2-minute warning, everybody. 2 minutes. We'll come back. All right, it's 10:30, everybody. 10:30 Central. So let me know how you did. How did things go? What uh, what did you write? I wrote 561 words, and that's because I had some technical issues. I was trying to get my dictation to work, but looks like I have to restart my computer, so I'm not dictating. All right. Oh, Karen, sorry, I didn't mean to make you jump. All right. Let's see what comments came in throughout. Ulkesh asks, should I get short stories professionally edited before indie publishing or submitting to pro mags like Asimov's or Clark's World? Well, Ulkesh, it's very difficult to get your stories into Asimov's and Clark's World. Those are probably two of the hardest hardest places to get your stories published. So the chances of them being published, it's probably slim, and I say that not as a dig on anyone. It's just it's slim for everybody, just because they get so many submissions. So probably if you don't get accepted there, you're going to want to submit it to other magazines. And if you don't get published at other magazines, then you would want to probably indie publish it, right? So if your ultimate goal is to get it indie published, yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I don't necessarily think though that it's going to improve your chances of a story getting published in a magazine, if that makes sense. So you can, if you want to spend that money, if you think you're going to end up indie publishing it, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But if it were me, I probably would just wait until I'm ready to actually do it. Because if it does get accepted in a magazine, right, then the editor is going to provide the service for you. So, you don't, so it's kind of up to you. If it were me, I'd probably save those dollars and use them for something else. All right. Okay, Ben asks, I'd like to see a video about how you outline and if you've come up with a beat sheet that works for you. So, Ben, I actually don't outline my novels anymore. I've actually done a video on my channel. It's called Writing into the Dark, and you can go to my channel and search for it. You'll see it. And I talk about my process on how I don't use an outline anymore. But when I did outline, I kind of used a mixture of methods. I did another video on my channel called 10 Ways to Outline a Novel. Check that out as well. It's kind of one of my most popular videos. I think it's actually on my homepage. If you go to youtube.com/authorlevelup, and you should be able to see that. So yeah, I don't outline anymore. I write everything in one draft. And what I do is every 500 words, I write the story, and then I go back to that 500 words, and then I just go through it and just edit. So I kind of edit as I go. So yeah, I kind of go by the seat of my pants these days. All right, Jocelyn Carter's with us. Hello, Jocelyn, Power Hour veteran. And okay, so the word counts are coming in here. So John, 772. Very nice. Deborah's at 980. Louisa, 782. All right. Anna Taylor Swearingen, 457. Ty, 488. All right. Black Cat, 400 words. All right, everybody's doing great here. All right, so Priscilla, 126 of rough poetry. Okay, nothing wrong with that. I mean, poetry, it's probably going to take fewer words, but it's going to take more energy. So nothing wrong with that as well. And Travis, 200 words while also rereading research. And Karen, I think, yep, 892. Very, very nice. So we're coming along, everybody. So really, really good stuff. And I don't see any other questions or comments. So why don't we jump into our next sprint? Let's get it done. It is 10:34. Let's just say 10:35. I actually went a little bit longer than 20 minutes for the last sprint. So 10:35. Let's come back here at let's do 10:55 a.m. All right. So I'll put some time on the timer and let's get it. All right. 2 minutes left. Come back in 2 minutes. Okay. I'm going to say it a little bit softer so I don't make people jump. Okay, so we are back, everybody. So I hope everybody had a great session. Let me know what your word count was here. And I'll change my banner real quick. Let me know what your word count was. How many words did you get in the last 22-ish minutes? Love to know. Let's see what my count was. I don't even remember where I ended. Next. Let's see. I actually don't know what my count was. I lost track. My total count for this segment I'm in is 1,069. So I'm just going to go with an even 500. I guess I had to introduce a villain. So it took me a little bit longer than usual because I was focused on the first impression. Okay, so let's see where everyone else ended. All right. Hey, Drew Rivera's in the house. All right, Drew's a fellow self-published author. We met in Vegas a couple years back. Good to have you here, man. And then John, 921 words. Very nice. Priscilla Bettis, still getting that poetry down. 112 words. It's pretty good. All right, Ty, 167. Not as much as I would have liked. Hey, happens to us all. Happens to us all. It's about the consistency. And then Deborah, 432. Louisa, 651. And Black Hat got stuck, 220 words. So Black Hat, what was it that got you stuck? Was it writer's block or was it something else? I'm curious to know. It'd be kind of good to know that in case others are having the same issue. All right. And Anna Taylor Swearingen wrote, I wrote an additional 446 for a total of 922. Very, very nice. You always make some good word counts when you're on these power hours. Good stuff. All right. So, yeah, we're all doing great. One of the things I try to do every now and again is tally up all of the words that we write collectively. And I think last time it was, or the first time I did it, it was like 20,000 or 30,000 words or something like that. So like collectively, we all wrote a novel. Oh, we had a question that came in. There's a couple of questions actually. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, it was just one. Okay. Ty asks, are you working on your Good Necromancer series? Looking forward to the next book. Ty, it's really funny you asked me that. I'm not working on that series right now. I am working on a new series. Maybe I'll share a little bit more about it later today. It's an urban fantasy series though, and it's very much in the style of The Good Necromancer, but it's a different thing. I am going to get back to Lester and Company later this year though, so I am itching to get back to him. All right, John says, I plan on watching your Writing Into the Dark video after this, but when you're pantsing, how are you aware of beats, etc.? I'm still slave to the outline. I can't imagine pantsing. John, this is maybe a bit of a coy answer. I don't worry about the beats. Here's the thing about beats. I have not come across anybody that can prove that there is a formula to telling a good story, right? And how you do it is going to be different than how I do it, is going to be different than how Stephen King does it. It's going to be different than how Cassandra Clare does it. I mean, there's just no formula. So for me, I don't really ascribe to okay, it's got to have this, it's got to have that, it's got to have this. That's my personal opinion. So that was very difficult to break away from, though. Like, I'm not gonna lie. So I outlined for my first 10 novels, and I couldn't see myself not doing it until I didn't do it. So yeah, if you're still a slave to the outline, if pantsing is something that you want to do, which doesn't sound like it is, but for those who are listening, if it's something that you feel like you want to do, break away from it slowly. If you rip that Band-Aid off, it can be very painful. So yeah, I mean, I'm really not aware of it. And the funny thing about it, John, is that if this makes sense, by being less aware of it, my story is more aware of it. So like, I don't think about the beats, but magically they always end up there, So like, there's the inciting incidents and things like that. Like, it always ends up following the traditional story structure, if you can call it that. So I don't know. I just think it's something in your subconscious that automatically does that for you. And when you stop worrying about that, interesting things happen. All right. So 358, my character's drunk. I never drink, so no overly familiar with the effects. Had to think about my observations of others. That is a very good point. I want to know from everybody here, what's your favorite sentence, what you wrote? Someone asked this last time, and I thought it was a great question. Tell me what your favorite sentence you have written today is. Last time we had someone who had kitchen cleaning demons in her story, and that was hilarious to no end. So, what's your favorite sentence that you've written today? All right, I was writing. Black Hat says I was writing dialogue which went into a direction I didn't want at first, but I thought about it I thought about a way to adjust it to my plot. Yep, happens all the time. And Lisa says it's very motivating to have someone to write with. I miss going to cafes to write with other writers. This is a good alternative, and I agree. It's definitely a good alternative. I saw someone earlier who had kind of mentioned that it's hard to hit these word counts that you're hitting today by yourself. So it's one of the reasons I do these power hours. So glad I'm able to help folks. And Michael, how chuffed I am to hear you say I don't worry about the beats. I don't either. All right. Good company. All right. Let's see. And John says, I would love to be able to do it. Yeah, it's one of those things. You're either a plotter or you're a pantser, or you're a plotster or a plantster, a mixture of both. Like for me, I just found that when I was outlining, I wasn't sticking to my outline at the end of the day. So like I would say, I need to have this and this and this and this and this. And then when I get to the chapter, I do this, but not that. And then I would just go in a completely different direction because my character would take me in a different direction. And so I kept thinking to myself, if I'm spending all this time on outlining and I don't follow the outline, why am I outlining? So, all right. Yeah, Karen. Okay. Only my third time here with you all, but I love it. It's exhilarating. That's great to hear. Glad you enjoy it. And it's fun for me too. It's fun for me to connect with you guys and talk about words. All right. So we got some sentences coming in. Anna says, favorite line, said Eve to Adam's hidden desire. There we go. Karen says, one shot, one tiny bullet was all it took for me to end his suffering. He played me well. I'm intrigued. Got a character killing somebody or something, Yeah. Is that a villain or is that a hero, Karen? I'm very curious. All right. Luisa says, I started outlining my novel and went a completely different direction. The outline was so boring that I just stopped looking at it. Yeah, I use some core ideas. And there's something to be said about getting bored with your outline too. And that's one of the driving factors behind the writing into the dark method is that if you know what's going to happen, you're kind of bored. And if you're bored, the readers will be bored, you know. Oh, Darth, mashed potatoes are the bomb. I don't know what it is about kitchen food related stuff. Always ends up being fun chapters or fun favorite lines. All right, Travis says I sat in awkward silence as everyone comforted my crying coworker because I could not pull out my phone and Google the appropriate response without appearing crass. All right, sounds like there's something deep going on there. And then Priscilla, a water buffalo grunts. It's my favorite sentence because it helps show the setting. Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. All right, Ty says Crimson glared at the serpent, the fire on her claws swirling higher. I like it, and I can see your character because I love your book covers. If anyone has not seen Ty's book covers, they are fantastic. I don't know if it's a you can tell everybody like send a link to where they can find your covers, but it's like a little puppy. Well, it's not a puppy, but it's like a magenta puppy that's like racing and fighting monsters on the covers. It's fantastic. Um, I have a puppy, so kind of makes my day to see that. All right, Steph says my character is learning a new language, and pinching and touching are the same word in that language. And he found out when someone asked him to touch him, followed by an ouch. All right, interesting. Okay, John, I know this is going to be fun. His lungs started an urgent conversation with his brain while his eyes processed the familiar patterns contained within the tiny pores, stone wall beside him. Very, very cool. Hey, this is awesome, guys. I love this. I love this. This is going to be a regular segment, I think, moving forward. Give us your favorite sentence. I don't know what mine is. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, I think I've got one here. He had a hooked nose, a severe countenance, and no eyes, only gray sockets. We'll see. That's the description of this villain that I'm writing. So, all right. So everybody, it's 11:05. Let's jump into our final session here, and then I'll stay on to answer any questions that you guys have about anything. All right. So, 20 minutes. Let's come back at 11:25. All right. Good luck. 1 minute warning, folks. Okay. Well, how did everybody do? I want to know what your last session count was, as well as your total for the day. All right. So, love to know how everybody did. I ended up with, I think it was another 300 words. And I think that brings my total today to about somewhere between 14 and 1500. So, pretty good start for the day. I'll take it. And Drew says, I'm doing a rewrite of an old book. I got about 300 new words. Nice job. Yeah, I'm working on this book. It's going a little bit slower than I want it to go. The weird thing though is that like I haven't hit any rough spots where I don't really know what's going to happen yet. But I'm around the 25-30% mark. And usually I find that that's where things start to go off the rails. um, and that hasn't quite happened yet, knock on wood. But yeah, I wanted to get 5,000 words a day done on this. It's probably not going to happen, but this is this book two is definitely faster paced than book one, which is always fun to write. All right, so Priscilla did 64 words. I'll take it. Yep, I agree. 64 is better than zero. And Drew says I got 700 for the day. Ty got 209 last session, 850 total for the day. Really, really good stuff, everybody. This is cool. So, that's one of the reasons I'll keep doing these power hours. So the next one, let's see, let's figure out what the date will be. It's always the first Saturday in of the month. All right, so that would put us. I haven't even put it on my calendar yet, but I always do it afterwards. So that'll put us at April 3rd. The next power hour will be Saturday, April 3rd, and we'll do it at the same time at 10 a.m. All right. So be sure to mark your calendars. I always do a video on my channel that's like a placeholder, so everybody knows when it's going to be. And be sure to stay tuned on my socials because I'll let you know about that as well. Deborah, 469, now 1881. Very nice. Very nice. And then Luisa says 535 words, and my total is 1971 this session. 2,500 words today. Very, very good. And, so that puts you at what, 55,000 ish, Louisa. So, hope that you've got a 56,000 word book and then you've only got 1,000 words left. So, all right. Karen says we'll continue on through the evening after piano practice. Yeah, definitely. It's definitely good to take a break. I can't. I write a lot, but I'm not someone who just sits in front of my computer and constantly types. So it's all good stuff. All right. So if anybody has any final questions, certainly send them my way. I'll stay on for a couple more minutes and just kind of shoot the breeze. But I figured I would kind of tell you guys what I'm like, what my next project is, and kind of what I'm working on. So I'm trying to finish this book too, so that I can get. So basically, I finished book one, but I haven't published it yet. Like it's ready to go. Like I could publish it any day now, but I'm waiting on book two because the data says that readers tend to not want to invest in a series unless there's multiple books out. So I prefer to launch the first 2 books together and then follow up real quickly with book 3. And then once the trilogy's out, I can kind of gauge, is this worth writing more in this series, or how am I feeling about it? So that's kind of that's the immediate project. My next project is going to be another book that I'm going to publish really quickly, which is 250 writing tips, volume 2. So it's my podcast writing tip of the day in book form. The good news is I'm done with the book. I just have to go back through it and just check some things. So those are kind of the next 2 projects I'm working on. And then I'm working on an automation project, another automation project. So you guys have seen my YouTube videos on the ultimate guide to editing. So starting in 2 weeks, I'm going to be going over some editing software that maybe folks haven't heard of. And I'm going to be talking about Microsoft Word macros and how you can use those to basically clean up your manuscript in a way that I think will surprise a lot of people. Like, I cut the number of errors, like typos and grammar issues in my manuscript by about 30% using this method, and it was all completely free. And so if you are interested in creating cleaner manuscripts and less typos in your books, then you're going to want to stay tuned in about 2 or 3 weeks, because I'm probably going to do like it's probably going to be a really long author level up video, or I might break it into a series. I haven't decided yet, but it's going to be about like 20, 30 minutes on exactly how to do this, how to set it up. All right. So that's what I'm working on. And I was stalling to wait for some questions. So John asks, with your current writing method, how close to a final draft is your first draft then? I'm close to abandoning the outlining, but it's terrifying. Yeah, I would say when I write my first final draft, John, I go back. Basically, what I do is I loop every 500 to 1,000 words. So let's just take the words that I wrote today. I didn't do any looping today because I just wanted to get the words down for the session. But I wrote 1,500 words today. So I'm going to have to go back through those at least one more time. And when I say go back through, I'm not rewriting. I'm just simply reading it to make sure there's no typos, to make sure what's there makes sense, and then also to make sure that there's nothing that I missed compared to the 500 words that I wrote after it. Because sometimes what I'll do is I'll write, and then I'll be like, if I'm going to do this, then I probably need to make sure that the reader knows that he did this in the last chapter. So I find myself going back quite a bit. So what I write is by no means final, but it's pretty close. If I had to put like a percentage to it, it would probably be like 60 to 70%. And then when I'm done with the book, I go back through the entire thing one more time, and I take a pretty brisk pace through all the chapters, and just check that everything makes sense, that there's no plot holes, spelling and grammar errors, consistency errors, all that. And then that gets me to 100%, to the point where it's ready for my editor. All right. That's a really good question. So yeah, it is terrifying. It is terrifying, John. What I would tell you is that the very first time you write a novel without an outline, you're going to feel like you want to go back to outlining. You're going to feel like you want to give up. And if you can just push through it and get through that first one, if you are a pantser, if you are a true pantser, then it gets infinitely easier. All right. But not everybody is that way, So I always try to say that because, I'm not one to try to push my views on the world. I think you have to do what's best for you. But I think that there are a lot of people out there who they kind of get fed you have to outline your novel thing, and then they feel like they have to do it. And it's kind of like fitting a square peg in a round hole, and that makes them unhappy. All right. So just here to let people know that there is another way. All right. Priscilla, thanks for hosting. Thank you so much for being here. And then Luisa, I have 55,019 words. Yep. So I can't do math on most days, but I try to remember in your case here. All right. Kessie says, why not put your book on Google Docs to get live feedback? That's a really good suggestion, Kessie. I tend to keep all my work pretty close to my chest until I'm done with it. And it's just a personal thing. The main reason is because sometimes things change so much that I just prefer to just do it. And, it's not that I don't value the feedback. It's that I just like to try to protect that creative voice creative vision, so to speak. But I actually have considered doing that for a particular project. So more people say that I might do it one day. All right. Sandy asks, how much, if at all, do you edit while you're writing, or do you wait until the end to start writing? Yeah, Sandy, I kind of answered that before. I edit as I go, and then I do one final sweep at the end. Stellar C says, you inspire me. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And then Black Cat says, do you have any tips on plotting? I always know where I want my characters to start and where I want them to go, but they always get lost on the way. Yeah, I can relate to that. It seems like there's a lot of these outlining type questions. I might have to do another video on this. But yeah, the tip I would give you on plotting is to read as many novels as you can, and you'll absorb what you need to know. There's theory, and then there's practice. There's a filmmaker. I really admire and respect this guy. His name is Anthony Q. Artis. And I was taking a video course with him. I think it was on LinkedIn Learning once. And he said that, there's all sorts of things you can learn about making a film. I can teach you how the lighting should look. I can teach you the theory behind this kind of shot, the practice, the reason you should use this type of lens over this type of lens. And he's like, but all that is theory. And he's like, I could be academic for you, but I'm not an academic. I'm a pracademic. And for me, I try to teach you guys things that are going to be practical, because we can talk all day about theory. I mean, you can go to Amazon and buy 10 books on plotting, right? But is that theory going to actually help you execute on the page? I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think it's not a bad thing to learn the theory. I think you should learn the theory, but at the end of the day, you should do what works. And what has created the most results for me is just to read as much as possible. Really long answer to your question, but hope that helps in some way. Louisa says, I do my best to get the first draft done. I still have issues with the parts that the individual scenes are done, but I struggle to combine them. Yeah, sometimes that can be a struggle. Just kind of follow your instinct, Louisa. That's the best thing I can tell you. And you'll know if you were right or not, depending on what readers say. I mean, what I typically find is that if there's a section that I'm struggling with, readers tend to not notice it anyway. So, at the end of the day, just follow that instinct and stitch things together in the way that feels best, and then just go with it. All right, let's see here. Okay, John. Oh, Karen. Okay, asked John if you feel you can afford the time to try. Why not give an hour or two to the pantsing? Yeah, that's a great comment. Another thing, John, you can try is write short stories. Because I don't know anyone who outlines short stories. So I mean, short stories by their definition typically are pantsed. So if you can write 10 short stories, then you're kind of working your way up to doing it for a novel. Okay, Stellar CA, what do you think about Chuck Palahniuk's, I can never pronounce his last name, style of writing? I can't stand reading it, but listening to the audiobook is much better and easier. I haven't read Fight Club, so I can't comment on that. But I do like Chuck, and I like some of his writing advice. So, and I know a lot of people swear by him. Hey, Dale's in the house. Self-Publishing with Dale podcast. What's up, Dale? Good to have you here, my friend. And Louisa asks, how many words roughly do you cut out of your first draft? What's your word count for your first draft? I don't know. I don't track that. I would probably say, if anything, I add more words to my drafts. Some people tend to cut stuff. Other people tend to add stuff. I find that I tend to add things as I go and edit. So, if I write a 55,000 word draft, it's probably going to end up being around 60, maybe more. So that's kind of how things go. And then Dino says, hello from the Philippines. How long does it take for you to write a book? Well, it depends, Dino. I tried to write a book in 10 days this past 10 days, and it didn't work. But there were some intervening circumstances. The fastest I've written a novel, the longest it's taken me to write a novel has been 18 months. That was my first novel. The fastest I've ever written a novel is in 7 days. Um, Usually these days it's somewhere around 20 to 30 days. And again, that's with one draft and taking my time and making sure that I do everything right. I don't rewrite, so I commit to whatever I write, and so that's why I try to slow down and just make sure that what I'm doing is right. And I recognize that saying slowing down when you write 20 to 30 20 to 30 days in a book is kind of crazy, but I'm not a fan of sloppy writing. I really do believe that what you write should be as best as what you can write at your skill level at the time. Um, it's just it's just a lot easier, and you don't spend time in revision hell. Okay, let's see. Oh, they're all coming in, and like I said, guys, I'll stay on until I answer all your questions. Okay, let's see. Sandy asks, "Have you ever done videos or offered advice about world building fundamentals?" Uh, no, I haven't, but I do have a guest video from Jason Link. Jason is a best-selling author, and he runs some courses on world building. So definitely look him up. Let me see if I can find his article. Jason's a really cool guy. He gave a TED talk actually that was really really cool, and I think it might have been about world building actually. Um, Jason is the name of the website. Let's see. Epicjason.com. Check him out. I know he's got some resources on world building, and you'd be in good hands with him. All right. Okay, John says, oh, there's a conversation going on here, but I think it's a good thing to call out. That's my problem. I'm getting obsessed with everything being perfect before I commit to it, driving me nuts. Yeah, perfectionism is a disease. Once you get infected with it, you really do have to take a lot of steps to rid it from your body. Um, there are ways to do it, and really, the easiest way to get rid of perfection is to dare yourself to break your perfection. So, if you think that you need to write, I'm just going to use silly numbers here. But if it takes you 100 drafts to write a novel, try writing your next novel in 50, and then write your next novel in 25, and then get it all the way down to 3, and then dare yourself to publish it, and just see what happens. You know, that's the thing. It's about having the courage to go against what your perfectionism is saying, because the only opinion that matters in my mind is the opinion of paying readers. And are readers going to know that you spent 100 drafts to write the book? Probably not. You know, so I don't know what that magic answer is. For people who draft, but just something to think about. All right. Sandy says, my first edit, I usually trimmed 6 to 8%. Then on second edit, I usually add pretty close to that back, if not more. In theory, what I've added is stronger. Yeah, so you burn the calories and build it back with muscle, right? All right. Let's see. Karen says, I would add that or argue that outline shouldn't be perfect, but rather guide rails, so to speak. Wasn't that way for me either. Hence the reason I ceased doing it. Yeah, it can be guide rails. That's why outlining can be so problematic, right? Because if you can outline every single beat, like down to the sentence, what your characters do, right? Because there's methods that help you do that. Or you can have a loose 10,000 foot view. But there's problems with both sides though, because if you outline every single thing and then your character doesn't do it, or you're like, maybe I shouldn't do that. Well, then you just kind of blown up your whole thing. But if you only outline that 10,000 foot view, when you get into the murky middle, you're going to be stuck. So, like, there's just no perfect answer. Um, Ivania asks, every time I outline, I find that after a point, I start feeling less excited about my story. Do you think this means I would do better by pantsing? Maybe. Maybe. We talked about this earlier in the Power Hour, that there's something to be said about if you're bored with your story, then maybe readers might be. I was watching a video by Gary Vaynerchuk yesterday, and he was talking about laziness, and how laziness is your body signaling to you that you're bored and that you're not doing something you're passionate about. Um, that's not to say you should stop the story, Don't take it that way. Um, but there's something to be said about it, like, writer's block being like an indicator that there's something off that you need to fix. Something to think about, you know. But yeah, if you keep doing it and you don't find joy in it, I would say don't do it, or at least try it. And if you try it and that brings you more misery than you're feeling right now, then at least you know that the grass is not greener on the other side, and you found the optimal way to help your story. You know. So Dave asks, what is a fair copy edit rate per word? Oh gosh, somebody asked me this the other day, and I don't do it by word. Um, that's how a lot of people will do it. I just typically give the range. Um, gosh, I'm trying to think of what I. Let me see. I'm gonna probably do some really bad math here, but yeah, I don't. That's. I'm gonna take a flyer on that one, or take a pass on that one. Here's what I'll say: for a 50,000 word book, you can probably find a good, competent copy editor in the range of $200 to $400. One of the things about here's the thing about editing: you can pay you can pay very little for an editor, which I don't recommend, um, and you can pay a lot for an editor, and I don't recommend that either. I recommend paying what you can afford. So most people are going to pay, like I said, between that 200 and $500 mark. It depends on the editor, depends on their experience, but you can always find someone at your budget. And I would be more focused on what your budget is and what you can afford, especially if it's your first book, instead of the cost of the editor. Now I know some editors are going to poo-poo on that, but yeah, I mean, you can always find someone to work with your budget. That's my thing. All right. I do think people get fleeced from editing. All right. Oh, I have outline. Perhaps there are genres that need to be outlined, like mystery, planning to write a historical mystery. Yeah, that's one of those caveats. There are some genres that probably lend themselves better to outlining, but there's nothing that says you can't outline, that you can't pants a mystery novel. I mean, I don't see why you couldn't do that, assuming all the connective tissues link up at the end of it, and there's no glaring plot holes. I mean, I hear people say that all the time. I just don't know why you can't do it. If the right author, sat down and did it, I guess I could be wrong on that, but I haven't met a genre that can't be pantsed, but I'm sure that there are some out there. All right. So Jordan asks, is it efficient to get two similar edits that aren't developmental from two different editors? Yeah, Jordan, I did a video on this yesterday, actually. So I had a situation where, for one of my more recent novels, I had a situation where I was in the market for an editor. I was looking for one editor, but both editors gave me two completely different edits, sample edits, that I did end up hiring both of them, and they were both copy editors. So maybe something to think about is, if you want to hire two editors, what is it that they're bringing to the table? If you're hiring two copy editors that are going to do the exact same thing, like line editing, you're hiring one and then you hire another one just to make sure there's no typos. That second copy editor really is just a proofreader, and you're kind of wasting your money, right? How I approached it was, I had one editor that was really good at catching like continuity type errors. So, like, a character stands up twice. I mean, these are simple examples, but character stands up twice, or their eyes are blue on page 3 and purple on page 10. And they were just really good at catching those things that would make a reader say, hey, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. Why would they do that? But this person was not so good at catching spelling and grammar. I mean, they caught some, but they weren't as good at it, right? But the second person was really good at the spelling and grammar piece. I mean, they had eyes like an eagle, caught everything. But they missed most of what the first editor caught from a story perspective. So that's why I decided to hire both of them. In theory, one would hope that you could find an editor that could be good and fire on all cylinders for all of that. And there are those editors out there, but if you're going to hire two different people, hire two different people because they have two different skill sets that they're going to bring to your manuscript, not just to hunt out typos. That's the advice I would give. All right. All right. Well, it looks like that's all the questions, everybody. Our next Power Hour is going to be Saturday, April 3rd. So I'll put a video up on the channel. And then just remember to check my socials. I will do all of that. And then before then, probably what I may do this. I think I said this last month and I didn't do it, but I am going to be doing another live stream at some point. At first, I was going to do it on the automated editing, but I think there's going to be too many questions on that I would just rather make that just a dedicated video. But I'm probably going to do like a live stream on like a topic on like how my quarterly strategy is going, because I'm seeing some really interesting things out there that are just like some interesting trends that I just would like to talk about. All right. So thank you, everybody, for coming. I appreciate it, and have a wonderful weekend. And I hope that you get even more words in. All right. So have a wonderful weekend, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Peace.